In alhamdulillah, wa salat, wa salam Allah, wa rasulullah. Welcome to another session of our How to Prepare for Ramadan. Guys, Ramadan, inshallah, it will be happening this week. Should we all live to see it, it'll be in a few days. We'll be have the people of knowledge in different parts of the world looking for the new moon in the next couple of days, and inshallah, I will send out an email letting you guys know per the sunnah as the way it's properly supposed to be done. As the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, anyone who sees the moon, who is reliable and trustworthy, has seen the moon for the entire nation. And so, like I said, Sheikh Morsi, who is the founding scholar of our website, we have connections with scholars all over the world, and we'll usually get the call from him saying, Sister Layla, the moon has been spotted. The scholars in whatever country or whatever part. Normally, like I tell you, the first part of the world to see that the moon is not what people think the Middle East. It's usually it's Australia. Because the way Allah made the earth to rotate, that part of the hemisphere where Australia is, they're usually the first ones that say whether or not they that can see the moon. And that's where we usually, I'm just going to let you guys know, because there's a lot of people that think, oh, no, people follow Saudi Arabia. Don't nobody follow no Saudi Arabia, especially with what's going on over there with that king that they have now. That's why you all better be careful. Let me talk about something for a minute here. There's a lot of Muslims. You need to learn Islam from a teacher, a bona fide qualified teacher. A lot of you Muslims around the world are reading fatwas. You think that reading fatwas is learning Islam. A lot of you are going to that Islam Q&A website. Y'all reading fatwas and thinking that that's teaching you to lawful and unlawful and all that. I want you guys to know the king of Saudi Arabia shut that website down after he arrested Sheikh Munajid and so many other scholars. We don't even know if those men are living or dead. And the king has such control over that country, everything is censored. Okay, and he controls those fatwas now too. So y'all need to stop that Islam Q&A stuff and go find a real teacher to teach you this religion. Okay, the Islam ain't based on no fatwa. It's based on what Allah says and what the Prophet said and how the companions understood what the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and Allah to say. Stop that Islam Q&A stuff, guys. That's all controlled by that government over there who's arrested those men and probably executed them. Okay? So, but we do not get our first sighting from Saudi Arabia usually anyway. I'm going to tell you, it's Australia, and we have connections to some very well-known, respected scholars in Australia. They're usually the first ones to see the moon, whether or not the new moon can be visible, because that's how Allah created the earth. And they have people with telescopes and all of that stuff too, professional people. They, which by the way, that answers that question too. Can we use telescopes? Yes. The prophet said, long as you see the moon with your eyes, see it. If you're looking through a telescope, this is fine. They have professionals with telescopes in Australia, and they look to see if that new the moon can be seen. They're usually the ones that we get the call from, not Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia ends up as the earth continues to rotate, it goes through that hemisphere. So it begins in Australia, those other countries over there, parts of Africa that they see, and then it finally gets to the Middle East. And usually Saudi Arabia puts out their little things saying it was sighted or not. And most of the time, Saudi Arabia sightings, They coincide with Australia's. But when I send you guys the notice, I'm not looking at what Saudi is saying. We're connected directly. I'm connected to a couple of very well-known, respected sheikhs, sheikh and a sheikh in Australia. Okay, because they see it before anybody, even before Saudi. Okay, but Sheikh Morsi has a connection to all of them in all over parts of the world. We got some scholars in Kuwait, some scholars in the Emirates. We got some scholars in Indonesia. We got some in Malaysia. We got a bunch of them in different parts of Africa, and so we get the calls. The phones get to ringing and we get the call-ins. And then Sheikh Morsia tell me to put it out. I usually don't post it until the nighttime because all the fitna here in America, for some reason, I don't know why American Muslims think that because of these fatwa committees, they think that you have a choice. There's nothing in Islam that says that we can choose to look for a local sighting. In fact, the Prophet said opposite that. He said it ain't based on no local sighting. It's based on one nation, one God, one moon, one person that's reliable. So I use it, but because of the fitna, I usually don't. I'll tell the people on my website, yes, the moon's been sighted, or whether the moon has not, and I tell them to make their intentions or not based on where they are in the world. But I don't announce it publicly on Facebook and social media until nighttime here in America because I get sick and tired of the fitna here, and it's just ridiculous every Ramadan. But you guys have seen the evidence. You've seen the dalil. You know that there is no such thing as a local sighting that is not from the Prophet's tradition nor the companions. We talked about how it happened one time during a fitna between Muawiyah and Ali, and it was just one person that made that decision, and that was Ibn Abbas. Based on that fitna that was going on, he did not want the people to think that, because he was the governor of Medina, that the companions in Medina were supporting Muawiyah. That's why he said, I'm going to stay out of this nonsense. I'm going to do something that's never been done before. I'm going to use my judgment and go with a local sighting. And many of the other companions, I showed y'all the hadiths, they tore a hole in Ibn Abbas for that. I mean, my God, he was admonished and critiqued by a lot of companions for doing that. They said, man, you're doing the opposite of what the Prophet said. And he said, no, I am not. He said, Muawiyah has dirty hands. He said, the only reason why you guys are attacking me is because you done took sides. And he told those companions, didn't the Prophet say this would happen? What did he tell us to do, Ibn Umar? Ibn Umar attacked him for that too. He said, Ibn Umar, what did the Prophet say to do when this happened? Ibn Umar said, the Prophet said, don't take sides, stay in your house. He said, well, I'm not taking sides. That's why I'm using my judgment and going with a local sighting. Okay, but he got tore up into pieces by them other companions for doing that. But I think he was very smart to do it because those were some trying times. But those times are not happening now. So it ain't about no local sightings. So these sheikh that y'all think are scholars and stuff here in America that's telling y'all it's okay, you can look for a local sighting. I don't know who they are, where they get their information from, because that ain't what the Prophet said. That ain't what the companion said. It happened one time. That's it. Didn't do it no more. Once that infighting stopped. So ain't no local sightings. If you following the Sunnah, if you a Masjid listening to Layla, if you are truly upon the way of the Prophet, Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam and them companions, it ain't about no local sighting. But we do be careful who we take our sighting from. It can't be a person that's using calculations, for example. It can't be a person that's out for political power like Muawiyah was. It can't be somebody that's known to be crooked, untrustworthy. That's why we do not take the sighting from Persia, from Iran, because those are Shiites. I don't know, but we were not taking the sightings from Morocco. I don't know if Morocco done changed, but we were not taking their sightings because they officially announced that they only calculate. They don't even attempt to look for the moon. They calculate. Prophet was clear on that calculation. Okay, but we do take it from countries, that are reputable. A lot of countries in Africa, Australia, Europe, countries in Europe, the Middle East. And to be honest, guys, we a little bit careful about Saudi Arabia now. That king over there got some issues. We stay out of their business, but Lord, he done arrested too many scholars, so we kind of uneasy about Saudi Arabia right about now. So just to let you guys know, I don't want to hear that crap. We do what Saudi do, not as Sunnah followers. We do what the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam do. And I'm letting you know, our first contact is from Australia. And they're the ones that's usually correct. All right, you got that? So this ain't an Arabic thing. This is not an Arab thing. We don't follow no Arabs here. We don't follow no Caucasians here. We don't follow no black folks here. We follow the Sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam here. Just to get that clear. All right, with that said, we've been focusing on, because we don't have but a couple of days left before Ramadan. Everybody should be going through the process right now of making your home. Making your home a retreat. Because Allah tells us in the Quran that the home is a place of retreat for the Muslim man and the Muslim woman, particularly the Muslim woman. Why do I say particularly the Muslim woman? Because this is where our blessings lie. And for you sisters listening to me, I want you to know your blessings. You get more blessings staying in your home, practicing your religion, than going to any masjid. Period. Dot. It don't matter if it was the Prophet's mosque. Sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You get more reward praying and practicing your deen in your home. So you definitely, as a Muslim woman, want to make sure that your home is a place of comfort. Your home is a place of retreat. And that's the job of the head of the household. If you sisters are married and you did what Allah said and married a righteous man, he should be making sure right now that you and your children have the accommodations y'all need to have a pleasant Ramadan. You and the children should be cleaning up the house right about now, too. Y'all should be doing your spring cleaning, making the home clean, clearing out those cabinets, those closets, so that don't no jinns hide in them. Okay? Don't no jinns come in and try to disrupt your spirituality. You want to spend the month of Ramadan attracting the angels, not the jinn. Because as I've already talked about, the only jinn that are locked up is Shaitan and the Ifrit. Your personal jinn is not locked up. He will never leave you until death. And your children's jinn, your husband's jinn, their jinns are attached to them too. Okay? So every Muslim woman should understand that. So how should you be spending your time right now? You should be spending your time right now cleaning up that house, you and the kids. When the kids get home from school, get them busy. Tell them that you want those bedrooms clean. You want those closets cleaned out. You want everything stacked up neatly in the drawers. And you want to also get any haram paraphernalia out of your house. Any haram paraphernalia. That means any men or women that's hanging around your children too, that shouldn't be hanging around them. And y'all know what I'm talking about. Yeah, you know who I'm talking to without me having to tell you who I'm talking to. Because there are some women here, these older women I'm talking about, not my old sickly women, but there are some other older women here who have grown children that still live with them. And these women are single. And their son, I'm talking in particular, your son is 30-something years old. And his girlfriend is living with him in your house. Throw away all that haram paraphernalia, because you shouldn't be allowing your son to shack up with any woman in your house. You're allowing fornication. You're allowing zina to occur. And Allah is going to ask you about that because guess what? You're the head of that household. You're the head of that household. That's your house he's staying in. And, one thing that women, Allah says that he's going to test us with the things we love the most. What is it that women love more than they do even a man? Their children. And a lot of you sisters, you condone a lot of bad behavior that your sons do. You're letting your son sell drugs out your house. There's some other sisters. They know who they are. Okay, you're letting your son shack up with women, bring women that they ain't married to in your house and live with them. You sisters better put that love for your children in its proper balance. We don't love anyone or anything more than we do Allah. So, how do you, and you know who I'm talking to, how do you prepare for Ramadan as you ask me? You start by telling your son to get out of your house. He's a 30-some-year-old grown man. If he chooses to not practice Islam, that's his business. But he can't come in your house bringing his sinful behavior. So you tell that grown man to get the heck out and take his trollop with him. Bottom line. Leave and take your trollop with you. Because you're preparing for Ramadan. Where he go ain't none of your concern. 30-some years old, he should have had himself established in life by now. I mean, I'm going to have to keep it real. I'm not one of those daya that sits here and sugarcoats. That's why they don't like me. Because I'm not going to sugarcoat this deen to anyone. I'm going to reprimand you the way the prophet would. And the prophet wouldn't sit here and sweet talk you and tell you it's okay for you to allow a zina to happen in your house. He would tell you and he would speak to you with the same voice I have. And by the way, the prophet, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, had a loud voice like all the prophets did. He did a lot of admonishing to his companions. And he did not support no zina. So how do you prepare for Ramadan, my sister? Your first step is you look at that son and say, get out and take your trollop with you. That's how you prepare. And then whatever he had in your house that shouldn't be there, and I'm talking about beer. How could you not only allow zina, you allowed alcohol too? You get that beer out of your house. If he had marijuana, because he probably had marijuana in there too, take that marijuana out of his house, out of your house, and don't allow him back. Do you women understand that? Y'all, that's y'all's test. Y'all gonna have to know when to hold and fold with your children. I don't have that problem. My daughter know. I done folded on with her a long time ago. Okay? And I'm about to fold with that granddaughter of mine in a minute. Okay? Y'all better clean that house up. Kick out those non-practicing Muslims in your home who got their sinful lifestyle in there. And then fill your home with spirituality. And that's what we're going to speak about today. How to fill the house with spirituality. And again, all of this falls on the head of the household. For those of you who are married, this is the responsibility of the man. By the way, let me answer this question that I received too. And I received it this morning. Let me look at it again. It was a good question too. I can't find it. Give me a second. Y'all know I just woke up. I put it on one of these stickers on my computer. Okay, here it is. And it's a good question. Y'all wait for it. Here it is. Very good question. I kind of smile when I think about it. This question came from one of my new subscribers on YouTube. And she starts off with how she really enjoys the classes here, how she's learning so much, and she feels her iman growing already. She said, but she has one question about the head of the household. She said, Sister Layla, I work and my husband don't. She said, I am the provider and I am the maintainer in my home. She said, my husband does not work. She said, so since I am the head of the household, because I bring in the money and pay the bills, she said, is it my responsibility to run things, to set everything in order? And I smile when I read this because, this is American society. There's a lot of Muslims in other parts of the world that want to come to America. I don't know why y'all want to come to America. The roads in America are not paved in gold. The lifestyle here is better than in a lot of other countries, but you got to pay for it. If you don't have the money, you're going to be living in the hood. If you don't have the money, you're going to be living in the projects. If you don't have the money, you're going to be living in a bad environment, just like where you live and wherever you are. You got to have money to make it here. And it takes two incomes normally. If you don't make over $50,000 a year in America, you're going to struggle. And $50,000 a year ain't nothing for a family of five. That's enough for a person that's by themselves. If you got a family of five, you got to make over 100,000 baby cakes. That means you got to be educated. Okay? That's why I tell you most Americans have degrees. A lot of you people in these other countries, y'all think that because you got a PhD, maybe that's an accomplishment in your country. But welcome to America. Everybody's educated here, including me. All of us, everybody on my website, we're all degreed. That don't mean nothing. We go to school and get degrees so we can live here in this country because it's expensive. And if you want to have a good job, you got to have the education behind it. Otherwise, you're going to be competing with people who do have the education. That's the truth about America, for those of you who are deluded. Okay? And oftentimes, the women are the breadwinners here in this country. Because if you are a minority in America, 9 times out of 10, your husband is having a hard time because he's being discriminated against. Because he's not of the Aryan race. To be honest, somebody like Brother Elban could come in here and get rich with no problem. Yeah. But the minorities here in America, Arabs, African Americans, Africans, Chinese, well, they struggle. They struggle because America will always have that racist mentality. So oftentimes the women end up being the head of the households because America, even though America pays women less than men, they'll hire a woman over a man if she's of a minority more so. And that's just how this society is. So you come to this country, a lot of the women are the breadwinners. And according to America, this society, anyone who makes the money is the breadwinner, is the head of the household. So this is where, as Muslims, we got to separate society and culture from Islam. American culture, the person that's bringing in the money is the head of the household. That's American culture, but that's not Islamic culture. Islamic culture, it's the role of the man. The man is the head of the household, whether he's working or not. Whether your husband has money or not, he's still the male and he's the head. So am I answering your question, sister? So even though you are the one working and you are the one making the money, you are not the head of your family. Your husband is. Okay? And you have to obey him. He is the one that controls the home, and it's his job. Since he ain't working, it should be easy for him to do. It's his job to make sure that the home is filled with faith and that the home is prepared for Ramadan. Do you women understand? Am I answering this question for all the women? Because I'm sure a lot of you other women had this question too, because I know this is a problem. You women are working. Your husbands are not. Or you making more money than your husbands. It doesn't matter who's making the money. He's the man. Now, for you single women, it's different. You know, you are the head because you're the head. You're it. Does that make sense? Did I answer that question well? So don't allow culture to impede upon Islam. And American culture is so weird and crazy and just outrageous. Don't allow American culture to make you lose your understanding of what your role is and your job is as a woman and as a man. And I hope I made that clear. So, the head of the household, if you're married, it's your husband. The head of the household, if you're single, then it's you, the women. Okay? It's your job to turn your home into a spiritual retreat this month. And today, this is what I'm going to speak about: how to turn the home into a spiritual retreat. Take notes. Ramadan will be happening in a couple of days. Take notes. So here it is. Everybody should be able to see my screen. Can y'all see it? Hold on, yeah, and I got it. Yeah, one of my moderators is letting me know. Okay, I thank you for reminding me, brother. Let me do it now. Hold on. He let me know okay, that better? Thank you for reminding me. Okay, let me now go back to the screen share. Okay, so this is what we're going to speak about today: how to turn the home into a spiritual retreat. Okay? Allah tells us in the Quran, in the interpretation, the meaning, and we inspired Moses and his brother. Wait a minute, hold on for 1 second. Before I even get started, guys, can you guys hear me? I'm going to pause for a second. Somebody's at my door. It's Amazon. Every time I teach either Instacart or Amazon, hold on for a second. I'll be right back, guys. Fresno or somebody, I'll be right back. Okay. Okay, everybody. I apologize for that. Sorry about that. Took a while to. Okay, so this is what we're getting ready to start discussion of how do we turn our home into a spiritual retreat? Well, let's put the PowerPoint back up here on the screen. And we start off with what Allah said in the Quran. Allah said in the interpretation, the meaning to Moses, he said, we inspired Moses and his brother. We told them, take homes for your people in Egypt and make your homes as places of worship and perform the prayer in them and give good tidings to the believers. So here we can see in this verse of the Quran, Allah is letting us know that he even told Moses when he caused Pharaoh to let the children of Israel go. He told them to go to take homes and make your homes places of worship. In other words, they were commanded to take their homes as places of prayer. And this, again, look who I give the meaning of. I need to emphasize this to those of you who are new. A lot of you, when you hear Islam being taught, you hear the speakers mention Sheikh so-and-so said, Ibn Taymiyyah said, the four Imams said. It's not based on that, okay? How can you recognize if a person is someone qualified to teach? They're not going to be reading a fatwa to you. They're not going to be telling you what Sheikh somebody else said or what Ibn Taymiyyah said or what the four Imams have said. They're going to tell you what the Prophet said and give you the explanation or the meaning of it as taught to us by Ibn Abbas, Ibn Umar, Aisha, Sa'id al-Khudri, Abu Huraira, Umar, Abu Bakr, Ali, those original companions. Does everybody understand that? Because nobody understood this religion better than they. And I use Ibn Abbas a lot because he was one of the companions that that the Prophet made dua for, asking Allah to bless with a deep understanding of the Quran and this religion. Ibn Abbas had one of the first schools. He was one of the first scholars of this religion. Even Abu Bakr and Umar used to consult with him about religious matters to make sure that they weren't transgressing. Okay? He also kept very good ties and relationship with Aisha, who was also one of the first scholars, and Ibn Umar, who was another one of the first scholars of Islam. Okay? So I want you guys to understand when I give you guys the meaning of a verse of the Quran, y'all notice I don't give you Ibn Kathir. Ibn Kathir was not a companion of the Prophet. Ibn Kathir was a student of Ibn Qayyim, who was a student of Ibn Taymiyyah. May Allah bless all of them. But I'm sorry, they don't understand this religion better than those companions. And when Ibn Abbas speaks, everybody else goes sit down. When Ibn Umar speaks, everybody goes and sits down. When Aisha speaks, they all sit down because those original companions out trump even Ibn Taymiyyah, even the four Imams. So I want you new people to recognize, because if you come to my classes, you're going to hear things you never heard before, because my teaching way is not like these other people. I don't teach based on the human psyche. I don't teach using throwing science and psychology into it. And I don't teach from a method. I teach from the book of Allah and the Sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I'm a traditional Muslim. The Prophet said, stick to those who remain upon my tradition. I'm a traditional Muslim. Okay? All right. So how did Ibn Abbas explain this verse to us? He said, when Allah said this, he said that what Allah did was he commanded the people, Moses and his people, to make their houses places of worship, to pray in their houses. Also, Allah says, "O you who believe, seek help with patience and prayer." Again, Ibn Abbas says that the Prophet Muhammad, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, whenever the Prophet was distressed, whenever he suffered anxiety, whenever he was going through a trial in life, he would pray. And this is something that we have deviated away from today as Muslims. When we get upset, when we go through hardships, we panic and we turn to fatwas. Instead of turning to fatwas on the internet from that lislam.org, which is run by Shiites, or Islam Q&A. What you need to do is start talking to Allah, establish your personal relationship with Allah. And this is something that you, as the head of the household, need to establish with your family. Teach your children, teach your wives that whenever something bad happens in life, turn to Allah, call upon Him to help you. Make dua to Him, and you can make dua in whatever language you speak. Talk to Him from the heart. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said the best supplication is the one that you make from your heart, because nobody understands your situation and your dilemma better than you do. Talk to Allah. Okay? When you're in your home, you go and you teach your children that. Go in their bedroom, close the door, raise their hands and say, "Oh Allah, I got a problem. I need some help." And start talking to Allah instead of turning to drugs, instead of turning to fentanyl. A lot of Muslim kids are taking fentanyl because a lot of them have parents who are doctors, and they coming upon fentanyl trying and dying, overdosing. Teach your children, instead of turning to marijuana or any intoxicant to try to lose themselves, go to fantasy, to just go in their room, close the door, raise those hands and cry and talk to Allah. Allah, I got a problem. The kids in school keep bullying me. Oh Allah, I got a problem. My parents don't seem to understand me. Allah, protect me. Allah, guide me. Just talk to Allah. This is something that you want to try to establish with your family, your children during this Ramadan. Let your children understand that the doors to Allah are always open. You can call upon Him any time of day or night. He'll listen. He'll even answer them. Okay? So as you can see in these verses of the Quran, Allah is telling us to make our homes a place of worship, because the home is a place of retreat and comfort. It's where the kids can come home to get away from the bullies. When they come home, talk to their Lord. And for the women, the same thing. Your home is your retreat. Your home is your resort. So you women should be talking to Allah on a regular basis in your house. And also, we need to get in the habit, but since Ramadan will be starting in a couple of days, we need to get the family together and let them know that we're going to start praying together. You know what they say, a family that prays together stays together. So you brothers, let me explain something. You brothers are supposed to be praying your fard or your obligatory prayers at the mosque. But the sunnah prayers should be prayed at home. For example, you're going to go to Juma on Friday. You should make your sunnahs at home. Okay? I'm using Juma because a lot of you brothers don't go to the mosque until Fridays. So if you're going to go to the mosque to pray Maghrib, you make the sunnah, the voluntary prayers at home. You're going to go to the mosque to pray Isha. You make your voluntary prayers at home. During Ramadan, we do one thing differently. We pray Tarawih, which is the night prayer. We'll pray that together at the mosque, you brothers, with behind the imam, because you get more reward. You brothers do, not women. Women, even Tarawih, you get blessings praying it by yourself at home. But you brothers, you need to be at the mosque performing Taraweeh every night with the imam. But the other prayers, pray the sunnahs at home with your wife and children. If you're going to go and pray dhuhr at the mosque, make the 4 rakats before and the 2 rakats after at home with your children and your wives. This is how you teach them. Okay? Listen to what the prophet was approached by a companion. He came to the prophet one day and he said, "Oh, prophet of Allah, I am losing my eyesight and I lead the people in prayer. When it rains, the valley stands between me and them because it floods. So I can't get to the mosque to lead them." He said, "So can you come to my home and bless it so I can take it as a place for prayer?" The prophet said, "Inshallah, I'll do that." And the next day he came with Abu Bakr in the morning. The prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam asked for permission to enter. And he did not sit down until he entered the home, and he asked me, "Where would you like me to pray?" And I showed him a corner of the house, and the prophet said takbir, and we stood in a row behind him, and he prayed 2 rakats and gave a salam at the end of the prayer. Okay? So again, the prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam is not amongst us today to bless our homes like that. But you, as head of the household, you can designate a place in the home where you and your children and your spouse can pray together. Most people make a prayer room. Or you can take aside one part of the living room. That is, this part of the living room will be our praying niche. And this is where we as a family will pray together. So this is something that you want to establish now before Ramadan begins. And let the family know, Ramadan, this is the month of new beginnings. Ramadan, it's the month of change. So we're going to do our voluntary prayers together at home. We're going to start making, the voluntary rakats together. This is how we teach our children and our wives. Okay? We have a hadith whereas Aisha, she told us that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to wake up and pray the night prayer. And when he would get ready to pray the witr, he would wake us up. He'd say, "Oh, wake up, Aisha, and come and pray witr." Also, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "May Allah have mercy on a man who gets up at night and prays and wakes up his wife to pray too. And if she refuses to wake up, he tosses water on her face to wake her up." And also, this hadith is the same for women too. In another hadith, the Prophet said, "May Allah bless the woman who wakes up to pray in the middle of the night and wakes up her husband. And if he doesn't wake up, she tosses water on him." So again, the voluntary prayers. And the reason why these hadiths are stressing the voluntary prayers is because technically the men are supposed to be praying the obligatory prayers at the mosque. That's why these are emphasizing the voluntary. Okay? Also, another thing you want to do this Ramadan, not only do you want to announce to the family that effective immediately we'll be praying together the voluntary prayers, but also encourage your daughters and your wives to give in charity. Why? Because this increases their faith. And encourage your sons too, but mainly the wives and your daughters. Why? Because we females are more emotional than men. Your sons can control their anger a little bit better. We women have a wicked tongue. Even me, all of us. Even Aisha had a wicked tongue. Hafsa had a wicked tongue. Salama. That's just the nature of the woman. We can go when we lose it with our tongue. That's another one of the reasons why it's going to be more of us in hell than men. So you want to encourage your wives and daughters, to give in charity. And what I always announce to my students here, Ramadan will be starting in a couple of days. You need to go out and buy 2 boxes or take a shoe box. Turn one box into a charity box and then the other box into a Sadaqah box. Okay. And I separate them like that, Arabic and English, because you want to have one box for every time we do something that can break our fast. We put $1 in it or put some money in it. That'll help you to control that tongue. That'll help you to control your behavior, because Ramadan is the month of change. You're going to recognize what your weaknesses are. So every time, for example, the children get into an argument with each other during Ramadan, you break them up and say, go put $1 in the box, every one of you. That'll help them become aware of their bad characteristics to work on. Remember, the prophet was sent to teach us good character. And by teaching us good character, in turn, he taught us Islam. And also your daughters and your wives, every time you use that bad word, every time we swear, every time we say we curse and use profanity, put $1 in that box. So one box you want to keep for every time I do something or say something that can invalidate my fast. I'm going to put $1 in the box. When you come home from work and start arguing with your wife, yell at your wife or demean your wife, put $1 in that box. And what you're going to do at the end of the month of Ramadan, y'all will see how much money's in that box. Boy, we got a lot to work on. And then you want to take that box and give it to the mosque and charity. That's the one box. The other box is just a donation box that you just any extra money you have left over, you want to donate it, for the needy Muslims, put it in there. One box for the needy Muslims in your community, the other box for you who are needy, to work on changing the condition of yourself. So this is what you guys need to do now before Ramadan begins. Get 2 boxes and put them out in the public so you guys can see. You want those boxes to be a reminder for yourself and your family. So put them on top of the mantelpiece so everybody can see it as a reminder or something like that. The prophet would tell us to put things on display, so that way it will be a reminder to us every time we see it. That's that box. Okay, so, you want to encourage your family that we're going to become better Muslims this month, and we're going to become more charitable Muslims this month too. We're going to have two charity boxes. And the prophet encouraged this to happen. For example, he told his women, he said, "Oh, women, give in charity, because I have seen that you will be the majority of the hellfire." Okay, so this is what you really want to talk about to your daughters. Daughters need to learn how to curb that tongue. So every time we say something that we shouldn't say, every time we talk back to our parent, every time we say oof or whatever, put $1 bill in that box. Okay? So this is how you prepare your family and turn your home into a spiritual retreat. Okay? So 2 boxes. Everybody should get them today. A box for the needy Muslims in the community, and a box for the based on whatever things we say or do that we shouldn't. Also, how to prepare for Ramadan, your home. Well, you want to also sit down with your family and explain to them today that not only will we be praying the Sunnah prayers together, ASP, and not only will we have 2 boxes set up in charity, but we're also going to start using and learning supplications that have to do with the home. Remember, a lot of shaitanic stuff go on in the household. Arguing with your family, fighting, disrespect. Oh my God, children are so disrespectful today. The prophet said each generation will become worse than the one before. My God, my granddaughter is 19 years old, however old she is, 20, 20, 19, one of them. You know, my gosh, she talks to me as if I am on her level. The disrespect. And if I approach her with it, she'll tell me I'm not doing it. She don't see anything wrong with it. She thinks it's okay because that's what kids are doing today. But I tell her it's wrong. This is not how you talk to a 62-year-old woman who's your grandmother and giving you everything that you got. Okay? And you're going to think about it when you get older, I tell her. And when I'm dead and gone, you're going to be wishing you could take all that disrespect back. Okay? So there's certain supplications that our prophet, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, taught us to say that will help to keep that negativity out of the home. For example, you want to teach your children that when they enter the house, to make supplication before they enter. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, when any of you enters your home and mentions the name of Allah, then Shaitan will not come in, because he says that he has no place to stay and nothing to eat there. But if you don't mention Allah's name, then he has a place to stay. So you want to sit down with your children and your wives and husbands today, and you want to say to them, effective immediately, whenever you guys come into the home, before you enter, when you open that door, before you step foot in, say, Bismillah. That's Allah's name. In the name of Allah. If you say in the name of Allah, any jinn that may be following you will leave. And your personal jinn will sit down in a corner in your heart and look and say, man, it's going to be hard for me to get them to fight and argue today. So, and you tell your wife, when you go grocery shopping, when you enter back in the house, when you open that door, before you put your foot in, Bismillah. There's a lot of Muslims out there that think that they're supposed to say Assalamu alaikum. I tell you, there's a lot of Sufi, a lot of Sufi mentality. You don't say Assalamu alaikum. You say Bismillah before you enter. And then when you come inside the house, if your mother and father is there, you say Assalamu alaikum, I'm home. Let them know that you're home. The Assalamu alaikum is to let your family know that you're home. If I live by myself, I don't say Assalamu alaikum. Who am I talking to? We don't talk to the angels like that. We only talk to Allah. Okay? So that's another misconception. You say Bismillah before you enter. And if there's someone in the house, you greet them with the salams to let them know you're home. Everybody got that? Write that down, because a lot of Daya who come from that Sufi mentality, they misconstrue the meaning of these hadiths. Okay, so the Prophet taught us to mention Allah's name. Also tell the children that even when they eat, you want to mention Allah's name. You say Bismillah. And here's another personal supplication of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam that you can teach the children to say. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, if a man leaves his home, a lot of the kids are going through problems in school. They shouldn't be in the Kafir school anyway. That's on your problem as a parent. I keep telling y'all to check out safausa.org. That's Imam Sheikh Kareem Abu Zaid's homeschool. Your Muslim children can be at home, be homeschooled, and in a Muslim school on the internet, from kindergarten to 12th grade. The new semester, I think, begins at the end of this month. Y'all need to be contacting Safa USA, SAFAUSA.org. Have your children homeschooled. This is an international homeschooling Muslim school program put together by Sheikh Kareem Abu Zaid. So your kids ain't got to deal with these kafirs no more. Okay, but when they leave, you tell your children before you leave the home. The Prophet said anyone who leaves a home and says, In the name of Allah, I put my trust in Allah. There is no help, no strength except in Allah. Then it will be said to that person, this will be enough for you. You are guided and you have what you need and you are protected. Teach your children this supplication, because every time they say it when they leave the home, they're under the protection of Allah. It works. I'm a grown woman. I just retired from working a year ago. Before I retired, I worked with developmentally disabled individuals. Developmentally disabled individuals are possessed. I worked with the low functioning ones that were possessed by their jinn. Okay? Before I left the house for work, every day I would recite this. And I was under the protection of Allah. When I would go into work, when those individuals who were possessed would try to come at me to attack me, they would never touch me. I've never been attacked by an individual, by a client, because they couldn't. They would run at me and they would just stop like it was a force field around me, because Allah had those angels spreading those wings to make sure that this old lady never got hurt. I've never been beaten and attacked and abused by a resident. And I worked dealing with them for 36 years. Okay? Because I recited this supplication. So teach this to your children whenever you leave the house. This supplication that the Prophet taught us puts us under the protection of Allah. The angels of mercy will surround you, and they will assure that nothing happens to you unless Allah has decreed it for you. The jinn will stay away from you, and I worked with the jinn. The jinn didn't touch me. They were unable to touch me, because they look at you and say, what can you do to this person who is guided and protected by Allah? So I can tell you firsthand, for 36 years, this is how Layla Nashiba never was attacked by a client in her 36-year career. All my other co-workers were. Not me, ever in 36 years. So it works. Teach that. When you have your family meeting tonight, tell the children this. Write it on a piece of paper and put it on top of the refrigerator so they can say it. They can say it in English. I said this supplication in English. I say most all my prayers in English. Why? Because that's my first language. And that's the language I understand the best. I went to school and got a degree in English, so I understand it better than most people do that speak it. So I want to make sure I know what I'm saying to my Lord. So I speak to him in English. I don't speak to him in Arabic except when I'm making my prayers. Outside the prayer, Layla is nothing but English with her Lord. And I got a good relationship with my Lord. My Lord has been good to me. I can tell you that. I wouldn't be here if it weren't for him, because I had a dangerous profession that I worked for 36 years with real possessed jinn, people that were possessed with their jinn. He's been good to me. Okay, so you don't have to speak it and say it in Arabic. You can say it in English. Also, you want to also let your as head of the household, let your family know, let your children and wives know, starting ASP. We're going to spend a little bit more time reading the Quran during this month, because Ramadan is the month of the Quran. And I'm going to talk about that this week too. I'm going to tell you why it's the month of the Quran. And you let these children know that just because we're fasting don't mean we're going to be sitting around with no funky breath. You're going to be brushing your teeth a lot. Brushing the teeth does not break the fast. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to brush his teeth more when fasting. He used to brush his teeth after making wudu every day. He used to brush his teeth before he read the Quran. And one day, Aisha asked him, she said, "Oh, Prophet of Allah, before you recite you always brush your teeth. Why? He said, because I don't want to speak to my Lord with my mouth stinky. So you tell the children, this is a sunnah that needs to be brought back. He said, just because we're fasting, you tell your family members, just because we're fasting does not mean we're going to walk around with our breath stinking. If I smell anybody's breath, I'm going to make you go brush your teeth. And you're going to use mouthwash. Neither one breaks the fast. And the prophet did them. He used to still clean his mouth. He never read the Quran he recited the Quran without cleaning his breath first. So this is a sunnah that you need to encourage with your wives and children and yourselves. Okay? Listen to what Aisha said. She said, whenever the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam came home, when he entered the house, the first thing he would do was go to and get the toothbrush and brush his teeth with it. He didn't even want to talk to his wives with his breath stinking. So this is something that we're going to do starting this Ramadan. We're going to brush our teeth a lot. And also, we're going to read the Quran a little bit more during this month. And we're going to read the number one chapter that we're going to focus on this month is Surah Al-Baqarah. Because Surah Al-Baqarah, this is a chapter of the Quran that protects you from shaitan. And what I encourage you guys to do is every day take one verse. Take one verse from Surah Baqarah for this month and recite it in the Arabic, recite the interpretation of the meaning then in English, and then give the meaning of it. Have a Quran Tafsir book. Many of you have Ibn Kathir's Quran Tafsir. It ain't the best. I don't use it, but it's good for people that don't know of anything better. Whatever Quran Tafsir book you have, use it to give the meaning. Read it to the children and your wives and whatever. This is what this verse means. And then have them ponder how that verse impacts them, the way I teach y'all here. You read a verse of Surah Baqarah each day together after Fajr or something, or after you break your fast. And then say, let's discuss this one verse. Ask your children, how does it impact them in their life? How does this one verse benefit them? This is something that'll bring you together as a family. This is something that'll keep the atmosphere Islamic during the home. Not just during Ramadan, but even afterwards. And again, the surah that we emphasize is Baqarah. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, do not turn your house into a grave. The evil shayateen, the devils, they run away from a house in which Surah Baqarah is recited. Okay? Also, the last two verses of that surah. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, Allah wrote in his book 2,000 years before he even created the heavens and the earth. And this book is kept near his throne. And he revealed those last two verses. If they are recited for 3 consecutive nights, the evil jinn will not even approach your home. So again, this is why I'm telling you guys, this is something good to do with your family. Every night during Ramadan, when you break your fast, you guys sit down together, or when you wake up in the morning for suhoor, that's another good time to do it. When you get your family up for suhoor, after you eat as you're eating your suhoor, take one verse of Surah Baqarah, read it in the Arabic, give the interpretation of the meaning in whatever language you speak, and then the tafsir of that. And then ask the children the way I teach y'all here, how does it impact you in your life? How can we incorporate this verse into our lives? Boy, I'm telling you, that's something my mother used to do with us. My mother and my stepfather used to do with us when we were kids. She'd get us up for a suhoor. My stepfather was the one. He would sit down and we're going to look at a surah for a verse of the Quran for today. And he'd break it down, explain it, and how does it impact you? May Allah bless my stepfather. May Allah forgive him of all his sins, and may he be in the highest levels of paradise with the righteous. I mean, he was good to me. He was good to all of us. It's my father. Whew. Thinking about him. When I think about childhood, God makes me say, let me keep it moving. Okay, so also another thing that you want to do right now before Ramadan begins is build an Islamic library in your home. And the library doesn't have to be extensive. What matters is choosing a good book, putting them in a place that's accessible, and encouraging your children and your wives to read them. And again, you want to make sure that your house is clean. And if you build the library properly, because Allah loves for us to do things properly, this will serve as a good means for your children and your wives. They want to look up a hadith or understand the meaning of something. Moderators.
And what's this letter?
Okay, I got moderators. Good. Okay, so you want to build an Islamic library in your home. And a lot of people ask Sister Layla, what should we have? Y'all see this picture here? Who it is? There's the old man, Sheikh Muhammad Saeed Atlee. Many of you have the beginning of a good library because I'm hoping that you bought the books. All the books that I am using here at this website are from Sheikh Muhammad Saeed Atlee. He's written them. And he has an extensive library, of books that you guys can order. And his books are of Aqidah, of Hadith. He got Hadiths for children, Hadiths for adults. I highly recommend browsing through his website. His books are very, very cheap. He doesn't have anything that's over $10. And that's the link to his website, Adley Online. Okay? Also, another good place to buy books about the companions. A lot of you ask me about stories of the companions, stories of the women heroes of Islam, stories of the prophets. Another good place to get books is Darul Salam Publications. And there's their website link. They have many books about the companions and books of Sirah and all of that too. That should be a part of your library. So you want to try to set an Islamic library up for this Ramadan too. And make sure it includes books for the children. Sheikh Atlee's got hadith books on behavior and character for the kids. He's got stories from the Quran, stories from the prophet, the prophetic parables. There's so many hadith books and stuff from his website. You guys can get lost in there. He even has coloring books for the children, how to speak Arabic, learning how to count in Arabic, learning how to read in Arabic for the kids. Mashallah, guys, check out that website. You'll get lost in it. That's the old man. That's right. Also, finally, another way to prepare for this Ramadan is to let your family know that we're going to listen to lectures together, Islamic lectures together as a family. But we ain't going to be sitting up just going on YouTube listening to people like we've been doing. We're going to listen to people who are qualified. We are listening to people who base everything upon what Allah said in the Prophet. People like here at Sunnah Followers. Because as Muslims, we have to take our knowledge from someone who is not just famous. Most people are famous going to be in the hellfire, guys. Didn't y'all know that? The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said the first group of people that will be dragged by their faces and thrown in hell will be those who were famous. Okay? So just because a person is famous doesn't mean that that person is correct. You want to make sure that the person that you are learning from is righteous and pious. that they base their teachings on hadiths that are authentic, not weak hadiths. You want to make sure that that person is not a fanatical with a method. You want to make sure that person is not too lenient either. Remember, you want to get a person that you can ask about things and he can give you the answers based on Quran and Sunnah. A lot of these people y'all listen to are not even live. They're video recordings. This is why I do all my classes live here. This is why my Zoom room is open 24 hours a day. You can always come in here and ask me a question about this religion. And if I can't answer it, I'll get on the phone and get somebody in here that can answer. I'll get Sheikh Atlee who can answer, or Sheikh Morsi, or Jamali. Okay? So you want to make sure, and you tell your family, starting now, we're not going to just be listening to anybody because they claim they Muslim. We're going to take from reliable sources starting this month, and we're going to sit down together as a family and join Sister Layla's class. My class is every day at 6. Then I have other classes at 9 o'clock. I have other classes at 10 o'clock. I'm starting a new class on the Quran on Mondays through Fridays at 10. I have classes around the clock, guys. There's no excuse for you to be fasting and not get close to Allah if you hanging on to my website. I'm going to be honest. If you stick with me, you ain't even got to go nowhere else, because I'm giving you the knowledge that you need to get through this world and the next. You don't even have to listen to anyone else, to be honest. Because this website, we're giving you a well-rounded, free a knowledge of Islam based on the Quran and the Sunnah. And also, the person you listen to should be someone who has insight into people's situations. It has to be someone who knows what's going on in the world with this ummah. The people in my Zoom room say, why Layla know that? I'm not nosy. It's my job as a daya to know what's going on with each and every one of my students here. It's my job as a daya to know what's happening with this nation around the world, so we can give the appropriate advice, the proper admonition, and the hope that they need. And whoever you're listening to should be a person that is truthful and honest. A person that's pleasing Allah and not trying to please the people. You know, the true daya of the truth, we could care less what people think about us. We could care less what people say about us. You can hate me till the sun don't shine. I don't care, long as Allah loves me. So this is how you turn your home into a spiritual retreat for this month. And this is how you walk away at the end of Ramadan a better, righteous Muslim. Your relationship with Allah closer than it's ever been. Your relationship with your family closer than it's ever been. Okay? So I'm going to stop right here for today. Tomorrow I'm going to give you some more tips on how to make your home a spiritual retreat. And then when Ramadan officially begins later on in this week, guys, we're going to go back. We're going to go back to the virtues of fasting. And we're going to talk about the things that break the fast. Because again, I'm not going to teach that now until we start fasting. Okay? All right. So any questions or comments? Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta. Astaghfiruka wa atubu ilaik. Any questions or comments? Yeah. Yes. Go ahead. Yeah.
I know you said for those that can read Surah Baqarah, but I cannot read it in Arabic, so I'm used to reading it in English. I understand it better that way. Yeah. But if I have to do the Arabic, it's going to take me about 2 years. No, you don't have to. I was talking to the no. When you're reading the Quran, guys, what's important is the meaning. And when you're reading it in whatever language you speak, that's why I'm saying do both. The reason why I said do both is because a lot of people here like the Quran tajweed. That's a good way of practicing your tajweed.
For those of you who do know how to read, so you don't want to, like Dr. Asim said, you don't want to forget how to pronounce. So for those of you who do, like even me, I read it in the tajweed so I don't forget how to say, you got to practice that ein and gain or you're going to lose it. So if you take in one verse, for those, and Baqarah is easy to read. That's the surah that we teach you how to read off of. At least I do. I teach my beginners with that. I say read that verse in Arabic because you're also getting a reward of ein, that stuff. And then, but the meaning is what's important. Reading it in Arabic is of no benefit to you if you don't know what you're saying. But when you read it in whatever language you speak, that's when you know what you're saying. And you look at that tafsir in whatever language you're speaking, you understand it. But the reason why I said in Arabic is to keep that, your Quran tajweed going. But of course, you don't have to read it in Arabic. Read it in the meaning in English and keep a tafsir book because the tafsir gives you the explanation of the meaning better. Yeah. Yeah.
Also, during Ramadan, I try to read at least 2 pages. So is that would keep you up until the end of Ramadan, right?
Okay, this is another question a lot of people ask. And you don't have to read. I'm going to let y'all know, reading the Quran is not contingent with your fast. You don't have to read the Quran at all in order to get rewarded for Ramadan. But we encourage it because this way we don't forget it like the Christians did. You don't have to read a page or 2 pages or a juice during Ramadan at all. And I'm going to talk about that in detail later in the week. But it's something that what I'm teaching right now is a way to bring your family together and to be and yourself. Just Surah Baqarah is the longest surah, but it's the most powerful. I ain't talking about reading a juice. I'm talking about reading Surah Baqarah. And I gave y'all the reason why, because that's the protection for the home. And I'm talking 1 sentence or 2 sentences, a day and ponder the meaning. But for her question is, do you have to read a juice? No. That your fast is accepted whether you read a juice or not. And to be honest, guys, y'all come into my classes, you're reading the Quran every day because everything I'm teaching you is right out the Quran and I'm giving you the meaning of the verses. So you're getting the reward of reading the Quran by coming to all my classes anyway. Because y'all see, I'll put the Quran, what Allah says, and I'll tell you what Ibn Abbas said. That's Ibn Abbas's tafsir I'm giving you that I use. So you're getting a reward of the Quran just coming to my class. You're getting a reward of reading it, coming here to learn from me, my classes. But if you want to read a Jews, you can. But your fast is not conditional upon it. Okay?
Okay, last question. This is dealing with fasting or non-fasting. So those that with conditions cannot fast, when you get up in the morning, you want to go through the same rituals that for those that do fast. So you still can, if it's nothing but taking a drink of water and eating 1 date or something like that before Fajr come in, can you?
Yeah. Oh,
is
yeah.
that required?
It's not required, no. But if you want to do, if you're paying, well, let's see, we got different types of ransom people. Her type, she can't fast at all, guys. So with the type of ransom that the sickness she has, fasting is not recommended for her at all because it could cause her some serious problems. All you got to do is pay the ransom. You ain't got to go through nothing else but that because you're getting a reward of everybody else. You're getting the reward of a person that fasts. You are a definite ransom person. If you want to eat sahur just to follow the culture, because it's a cultural thing. If you want to follow our culture of waking up, eating sahur before Fajr, mashallah, you can do that. But whether you do it or not, Allah is still giving you the full reward of fasting without you having to fast because you are a definite ransom person. Okay? Now for me, my ransom, I'm a ransom person too, but my sickness is different. I have to attempt to fast. She can't fast at all, guys, because of her sickness at all, period. It could be detrimental to her. Me, My sickness, y'all just see me experience it. Y'all, when I took that break, it's acting up like crazy. That's how I know I ain't going to be able to fast probably. But I have to attempt. Unless my sickness flares up like it did when I told y'all that it was Amazon. It wasn't Amazon. And I was hoping somebody would have took over, but they didn't. We talked about this, Zoomers. I had to, this time it was a little while, that would have meant me having to break my fast. If I was fasting today, my sickness flared up, I would have had to break it because I would have had to take what I took to stop it. Okay. So, but for you, you don't have to do nothing, Jamila, except pay that ransom. Your ransom is your fast. Your fast is that ransom. Your sahur and everything is in the ransom. That's why it's important for those of you who have not yet paid your ransom to get it paid before Ramadan starts this week. Otherwise, you just starved yourself because your ransom is your sahur, your everything. Y'all got that? I paid mine. I paid it when I got my income. No, I paid it before I got my income tax because I paid it when I got my retirement check. Yeah, when I got my first retirement check that had my vacation time on it, I paid mine then. Hello. Yeah, but you ain't got to do no sahur or none of that. Yeah, your ransom is your sahur. Yeah. Y'all got that about the sickness, people? If your sickness is chronic like mine, you still have to attempt. If this was a fasting day, I would have had to break it. And I would have been upset. I'm going to have a hard time, I can see, this Ramadan. Already I can see I'm going to have a hard time. Because of my nerves. That's why I was trying to get these programs I'm using under control because I panics. And when I panic, it triggers my GERD. I'm going to have to get on it. Yeah, any questions here on YouTube and stuff? Let me see. Let me put this up. Okay, here's a question here on YouTube. Let me open up the chat overlay too. So everybody can see. I'm going to open up the chat overlay so y'all can see the questions from the people. Here's a question from Marianne. She said a sister wants to know if she can fast because she's getting her wisdom tooth removed. Yes. By the way, we're going to talk about what breaks the fast. Having your teeth removed does not break your fast. Unless the pain is so bad. If the pain is so bad that she has to break it, then yes, she would be sick. But they usually give you that nicotine, that Novocaine. Novocaine does not break your fast. Pulling a person's tooth does not break their fast. Blood does not break your fast. So you can still fast, yes. But if the pain from having that tooth removed is so bad that you can't bear it and you need to take Tylenol, then you can take the Tylenol and make that day up later. Everybody got it? Okay, and here's a question that somebody texts me. Why do y'all text me the questions? Let's see. Hold on. Yes, gastric bypass. I fasted. My doctor told me that's the best thing. When I had my gastric bypass, it was a week before Ramadan. I fasted, and this should be a good fast for you because you won't get hungry. Yeah, you still fast, sister. Yeah, gastric bypass, you still fast. Mashallah. Yeah. I was on Puree. You're going to be on Puree for a minute. Yeah. But you'll be able to do it. Yeah. Yeah, you're going to be on Puree for a minute. Yeah, that's the first thing my doctor told me after I had the gastric bypass. He said, oh, by the way, you can fast. It should be a good Ramadan for you. And I fasted. He let me know without me even having to ask. He said, there ain't no excuse. You can still fast. Yeah, any other questions? Go ahead with them.
Question. When you first had that surgery, it was okay to fast with your GERD? That didn't
My
bother you?
GERD is a side effect. I'm going to tell you. And by the way, the sister that just texted me, you're going to probably end up with GERD too. GERD, gastric bypass is the word. They don't do it unless you are really obese now, because now they give you the sleeve and that other stuff, which is better. Gastric bypass brings a lot of side effects, guys. A lot of people suffer with irritable bowel syndrome afterward, dumping afterward. That's what we call it, dumping. That's what I just was doing too. Bowel blockage. A lot of people die from the gastric bypass from bowel blockage. So I'd rather have the irritable bowel syndrome than the bowel blockage. And also GERD. GERD is one of the, a lot of the people end up like me with GERD. But my doctor told me I've always had that problem. I had acid reflux. He said I probably, because that hole is in my esophagus. I got a hole. The people with GERD, there's a hole in my esophagus. So he told me I've probably always had acid reflux. He said, but with the gastric bypass, they're taking your large intestine and connecting it to where your small intestine is. And they're taking your small intestine connected to where the large is. And he said, he said, and you got a hole there, Layla. It's going to come up. So that's why I don't have the bowel blockage problem. Bowel blockage, I'm not having, because I think that hole in my esophagus causes mine to go up. People with the bowel blockage can't come out. Mine don't have to. If mine can't come that way, it's going to come out my mouth. It's disgusting. But but that's what caused my GERD, was the gastric bypass. It's one of the side effects. I never had a problem fasting until I had that surgery. And it made me regret it. The first year, and by the way, for the sister that texts me, you're going to go through a depression. And because you're going to see, though, you're going to probably lose your gallbladder too. You're going to probably lose your gallbladder as well. I lost my gallbladder and had surgery on that 3 months after after the surgery. It's a lot of side effects of this thing, but you're going to get depressed and you're going to think that you made a mistake having that surgery. And I went through that thinking I made a mistake. But then I got better and I got over it. You know, it was the best thing for me. I needed it. I wouldn't have survived. I would be dead, if I hadn't had the surgery. But you're going to go through that depression thinking that you made a big mistake. Yeah. Sad. Yeah. Sad. Any other questions? Go ahead. And like I said, for those of you with the sicknesses, don't feel bad. Don't feel bad because you cannot fast. Your ransom is your fast. You better not feel bad. You better work on getting that money paid. You better be figuring out how you're going to come up with, for those of you who can't fast a month at all, it ain't nothing to be feeling bad about. You better be trying to figure out how to get that $300 together. That's what you're going to have to be concerned with, because your sahur and your fast is that $300. So try to figure out how you're going to pay. And you got a year to pay it, a whole year. So Allah is merciful. He gives us a year. Okay, also, guys, I want to announce that starting on the 27th, a new class that I will be teaching. And the reason why I'm starting it on the 27th is because Ramadan is the month of the Quran. I'm going to speak to you about what that means. And then to get the reward, this is why you don't have to worry about a juice either, because I'm going to have a new class that's based on the book. And I did send out an email to everyone to get the book. Let me put a copy of the book up here. Where is it? I had it on my desktop. I tell you, I got so much going on here. I can't keep up with it. Go to Sheikh Atlee's website, www.atleeonline.com. This is a book of his called The Book. The Book. It's about the Quran. I believe that this is his masterpiece. And just to show y'all what we're going to be covering in this new class, where's my PDF? Pfizer, you guys all looking? I'm just going to show y'all the table of contents. The first part is a brief introduction into the Quran. We're going to speak about how the Quran is a speech of Allah, the names of the Quran, the attributes of the Quran, the meaning of the word Allah, and also how the Quran and its connected chain of transmission, the miracles of the Quran and the unseen, the Quran and how to elevate your intellect with it, the science of it, the miracles of it, the Quran and women, the Quran and jihad. Y'all see these topics? This is why I said this is Sheikh Atlee's masterpiece. This is probably one of the best books he's written, the most beneficial. Look at all this stuff we're going to be covering. You know, Quranic challenges, the Quran and its history, the Quran and archaeological remains, the Quran and the previous books, the Quran and the prophets, the Quran and the prophet. In this book, look how long this is. It'll probably take us almost a year to get through this book. So you sisters and brothers that will be coming to my classes, you're getting the reward of the Quran by coming here because I'm teaching you the meaning of the Quran. And this class will be held Monday through Fridays at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So you don't have to worry about reading a juice. You're going to be learning about the Quran here, Sister Jamila. Do you get it? You ain't got to read the juice. You're going to learn the whole thing about the Quran that most people don't know. Okay, so y'all will be getting that reward. Okay? But what I want the families to do, those of you who have children and wives and husbands, I want y'all to sit down every morning for suhoor as a family and read at least 2 verses of Baqarah. Why Baqarah? Because again, we have a high divorce rate as Muslims. Our children are committing suicide. Our children are apostating from the religion. We got to bring the family back together. We got to get those demons out of our household. So I want every person here who has children, every person here who is married, that when you get up for suhoor every morning to read at least 1 or 2 verses of the Quran, of Surah Baqarah of the Quran. No other surah but Baqarah. Just Baqarah. And the rest of it, you're going to get from me here on Sunnah Followers. That's why I'm telling y'all, stick with my classes. You'll get the rest here from me. Everybody got it? And I will try to keep the Zoom room open. I'll keep the YouTube going 24 hours. I might have to restart it and refresh it, but I'll try to keep the Zoom room and Facebook open 24 hours so y'all can pop in with questions and all like that. A lot of people ain't comfortable in my Zoom room. I know why, because we don't play. They say I got some mean people here. Yeah, a bunch of old, sick women. And they so sick that they don't play. You come in here with drama, you're going to be kicked out. So that's why people don't want to come in my Zoom room. And they know it ain't no pickup spot. It ain't no age, sex, location. Because these women don't play. And my young girls in here, my Bantus, they ain't into that either. So a lot of y'all are more comfortable with the Zoom, with the Facebook and YouTube, and I'm going to try to run it 24 hours. And I can still see like I can now. I can see what y'all type and what questions y'all have and stuff. And I'll just be able to, I might have to refresh it, restart it, shut it down for a second and restart it maybe twice. But other than that, I'll keep it going. Okay, guys, I'm going to stop right here because it's time for me to make my grip. And also, there's another class. Oh, and I have to do the PowerPoint. My class on the resurrection is at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're going to be speaking tonight about what happens on the day of judgment with the righteous. So I'm going to close out now and get that PowerPoint together, and I'll see you guys back here on YouTube and Facebook and Twitter and Instagram at 9, inshallah. I might be a little late. It might be 9:15, depending on how I get this PowerPoint done. Okay, but I'll be logging in. All right, so Subhanaka Allahumma wa bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilaik.